today we're going to talk somewhat about the new photo app. Is there anybody who has never been here before? Everybody's been here. Okay. We had a couple questions that I was sent a note about, and before we get going with those two questions, Marty, I'm really glad to see her here. I think I'm going to need some help. Marty?
Well, we'll see. I have a lot of questions for you.
Because I was really glad you showed up. Anyway, are there any questions before we get going? It's two of the questions that I have before we start. Yes.
Dr. Kennedy, iPhoto swallowed up your pictures.
iPhoto what?
Swallowed up your pictures into a folder that you had no access to. Right? Yeah, but you were not supposed to do that.
You mean the iPhoto?
iPhoto did that.
Right.
Yeah. Others like Photoshop, Lightroom, and Bridge allow you to use your own folders on the Mac and access things and works with that. Lightroom allows you to make the choice. Does Photos do it like iPhoto, or do it like?
I believe like iPhoto.
In other words, goes into a folder where you're not supposed to access.
What were you going to say, Marty?
You have a choice.
You have a choice.
Yep.
Okay.
In preferences, you can decide whether you want to import everything into the library or if you want to leave it in in your folders.
All right, so let's take a look at that. At one second here. Let me open that photo. But what I want to do is look into the folder a second, because I've got everything, I believe, in the actual iPhoto program. Let me see where that put that. That's not what I wanted to do, actually. So I should be able to right-click on here and show package contents. So here's what the package looks like. And I haven't gone through these folders to check and see where, what's where. But you're really supposed to stay out of here. Now, and you're better off staying out of here.
From my experience, if you mess around in there, you will screw up your life forever.
I mean, years ago, I did mess around in there a little bit, but with iPhoto, and I never had a real problem. But if you start moving things around and taking things out, it's going to be a nightmare for you to figure it out.
Say where you're not supposed to go, George? Where aren't you supposed to go?
This is the photo app library right here. Not into here. In other words, if you right-click on here, you can open it up by showing package contents.
Okay.
Just don't do it. Okay, now, I'm going to open it up, and we're going to go to Preferences, and I'm assuming it's under General.
It says there, right where your cursor is, it says importing copy photos into your photo library. So if you check that, it moves everything to the library when you import it. If you don't check that, it
It
just
says
moves
it,
an index.
it's actually saying it's copying everything.
Right.
So it's not moving it, it's just copying. So it must be in both places.
Copying from where?
I don't know that.
Wherever it is.
So that if you don't check that, what happens?
It stays where it is. Marty's saying, they'll stay where they are.
And it just makes an index, just keeps an index of where it is.
As you don't have a choice if you have not yet updated.
If I put my chip from my camera loaded into my Mac, then all the pictures come up and immediately get imported into Photos. But I don't want to do that. What I want to do is take those things, put them into my library, not my Photos library, but my photo library that I have made. And then I want to take them and edit them. I want to edit them in Lightroom. And then I want to take my edited Lightroom pictures and turn them into JPEGs and put them selectively, the ones I want, into the Photos library. That's what I want to do.
Wait a minute.
Exactly why I asked the question.
Yes, it was my question.
Okay.
Thank you for that.
When you say photo library,
My
your
photo
own
library is
photo-
not the Photos library, it's
With-
my own library.
your own
that
photo
I've
library.
created,
Your
where I
own.
keep all
It's a
my
library
basic
of
pictures,
photos.
but
Okay.
not my edited pictures.
Okay.
Like John's life.
So then you would not,
So I
you would,
don't want to use Photos for importing, I want to import into my own library.
Right.
Where I have all my originals kept.
so you don't want to check this box.
Right. Now, if I uncheck that box, you're saying it just makes copies. So it will make copies.
No, if you check the box, it's going to make copies.
No, if you uncheck the box, then it will know where it is without taking it inside that folder where you cannot access
Let me suggest.
Yeah, if I uncheck the box and then
Let
move
me
the
suggest
pictures
something
into my
first.
photo library.
Can I interrupt you just for a second? There is a piece of software called Image Capture that controls what happens when you plug your chip into your Mac. If Image Capture said you hit preferences in it,
Where
says
is that?
Okay, I'm going to show it to you. One second. Before we go any further, this will probably be the last time you'll ever see anything like this on my computer. Look at my dock.
it. Spring cleaning.
Now, let me tell you how that happened. No.
What's wrong with that?
No, I went to the Apple store and I had a problem. I had a problem with something. And the way, I have so many problems that I forget which problem I went to. But there's something I had a problem with. The genius proceeded to throw out every single preference. Every preference. He did it, he took all of the, I guess the third-party preferences and threw them out. And everything on my dock disappeared. And so I'm building it back up again.
Give you something to do this summer.
But I'm trying to be very careful.
George, can't you put the hierarchy on that dock by putting folders, since you prefer to have so many on there?
Yeah, Jerry does that. Yeah, yes. Jerry's he's the organized expert on the dock.
And then, can you get them going into a stack?
Right. Okay, so now let's go back, did you make your point?
Use Image Capture.
Oh, image capture. I'm trying to find image capture. That's why it was on the dock. That's why I was looking for it on my dock, but it's not there anymore.
Command space and start typing in Image Capture.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to this guy, image capture. Okay, it's right here.
Top of the list.
So now I go, where it shows up over here, in order to make sure it stays in the dock,
Move it over.
I say keep in dock.
Here we go.
All right, so I go over the image capture, and what was the process?
Preferences.
Preferences, right?
When you have a device plugged in that's got images on it, then you have the option of saying move, import, or manage the import.
Okay, so it's image capture, that's where you can decide whether,
Which ones, you can see all the images on the chip, and then you decide which ones you want to import and where you want them to go. They don't have to go into iPhoto, they can go into a folder that is your control.
You go through that.
you know, it's interesting, I wonder if, has anybody tried that? I wonder if the new photo app shows up.
No,
What?
Photo app doesn't show up, but it will give you an option.
Photo app will be one of the options if I go to import the photos, right? Okay.
Yeah, this is Mitch. I've asked this before, I got an answer before,
Is this a new question?
it's from a month ago. So in the photos, I plug in my iPhone, 1,000 photos comes up every time to import. It used to come up that 1,000 photos and there's 10 new ones. Do you want to import the 10 new ones in iPhoto? And I can't seem to get the settings right so as a consequence, I now have about 9,000 duplicate photos in my, and I thought that you had said that there was a way to set something up so that it would would recognize it.
Dan Westlake showed it as what he was the one that answered the question. He was our video conference guy.
Okay.
All right, so I've got, we can search his tutorials, try to figure out what would be import. Yeah,
I've got his tutorial, I'll look.
okay, but we can do that here too.
Okay.
But we'll take a look at that because I'm going to show some of his tutorials if we get there. Anyway, back to the preferences in the photo app. If you want to leave your photos wherever you want them, uncheck this importing box. If you want to import them into the photo library and then stay out of that library, check the box. So does that answer your question, Bob?
Well, I basically wanted to know if I have the option of
You do have the option.
keeping my own organization.
Right, you have the option.
And that was my question, and it was answered.
Okay.
Well, the problem I have is what you alluded to when you said this is copying it. It's not replacing it. It's staying where it is, but it's making a copy. The original is still on my SD disk from the camera. When I'm done, I eject the SD disk, and then I have no original for this copy to hook onto. So where's the picture? I'll get a thumbnail, but I won't get a picture.
Didn't tell you after.
It copies the image.
Copies the whole picture?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it copies the original picture.
No, okay.
But I think if I were to start life all over again, I would not store the pictures in the photo app. I would store them elsewhere and keep this box unchecked. Because if you do happen to have a problem or you need those photos, you're not supposed to, and you start messing around in that photo app back in the background in that library, things are going to get messed up. Yes, who's ever on that is back there.
That's Bumpy. I would like to suggest that I look at images in image capture, but I copy everything onto a folder on my backup drive first, and then I'm done processing them in Lightroom, then I put them back in Photos, because that way I cut out the stuff that I don't think is good enough and keep my photo library down. And that way it's not taking up hard drive space too. I'm keeping it on a backup drive, and I do one for originals, and then I make a copy of the ones that I've corrected.
That's a good idea. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah, for those who have not yet upgraded to 10.3, if there's some selection that you suggest that we make, or it just does, there's probably not, or it just puts them wherever it wants to. Your iPhoto library.
I don't understand your question.
I still have 10.2. I still have iPhoto. I've not yet upgraded Yosemite to 10.3.
So it's a non-issue, you can't use this program.
Right, no, but when I do, it's just no, it does whatever, right? There's no selection to make. The first time it opens iPhoto or photo.
Wait.
He wants to know if he updates to the Yosemite, does he have options except this process? That's what
George just said that if he could restart his life, he would make that choice right at the beginning not to copy.
So in other words, the first time you open photos.
Oh, you're saying if you do update to the
Yosemite.
Yosemite,
Yeah.
what would I do?
Yeah, what is it that you recommended? That as soon as you open the Photos app, you should go to Preferences and uncheck that box?
Yes. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
It's up to you, it's up to you. Because I think I would feel safer in the long run
Right.
if I had them somewhere else and then backed up and so forth and so
Yeah.
on.
Thank you.
George,
Yes.
it seems to me that if you don't make a copy, but you use photos, then you are editing your original. So you don't have an original someplace that is pristine.
Doesn't Photos maintain the copy of the original, even if you edit in Photos, it maintains the
It
original?
does, it doesn't destruct.
Yes.
It maintains the original.
But if you don't have it in the photos library,
Oh, okay.
if you don't have it in the photos library and you do some editing, aren't you editing the original?
Yeah. I see what you're saying.
That's my
Okay.
concern with your recommendation, George.
There are downloaders that automatically, when you download 2 copies, one goes where you want it, the other one goes on another disk where you want it.
But
And that's my recommendation. Now, I don't remember whether image capture does that or not,
I don't think they do.
No. I think that's the one thing.
but I use Bridge or Lightroom for download.
So you use Bridge
I
to
use,
store your photographs.
I create a normal file for my new photographs. I'm supposed to keep them pristine, but I also at the same time create one on an external disk. It's a copy. And then when I open Lightroom, I import these pictures without copying them, which means that they get into Lightroom's index. And they can get to it just as if it was inside, but I can get to it as well.
Well, if you use Lightroom as I'm
So
suggesting
I'm
you use Photo.
thinking that if I can do the same thing with photos, then I would be interested for some reason for certain things in photos. If I cannot do it, if it absorbs everything like iPhoto, then it would mess me up.
Why would you even consider using the new photo app?
Because probably Apple will come up with some features that don't exist in Lightroom or Photoshop.
And to see it in his iPad,
And
And what?
and to be able to see it in
And
his
to work with iPad. and
All right,
so on.
right.
Not for the few that I do for exhibit or something.
Vicki?
Yeah, I use Photoshop Elements for my editing, and when I download to image capture, and I put them in a folder, and then I immediately back up all my raw photos to a hard disk, and then I do all my editing. And only after I do all my editing, renaming, everything, do I import to before iPhoto, now Photos. And of course, in iMovie now, it used to be you really could only access your iPhoto library to make a slideshow of your photos. That they had to be in the iPhoto library. That has changed, and I think you can access them from anywhere. But basically, I just used iPhoto, and will probably can use Photos now. It's basically storage for me. You know, these are all my edited ones. They're finished. I still have my raw ones if I ever want them on a backup hard drive. And I use a lot of libraries. Like when I go on a trip, I make a new library just for that trip, rather than bloating my main. I do have one big iPhoto library too. But for special things, I do a separate. Now, the only thing that is interfering with that right now for me, and I think George might address it, and hopefully Apple will change it, is right now in Photos, you cannot sort by file name, which is what I have always done. You can only sort by date or not by date, and I don't know what the default is if it's not by date, but you, by geography, okay. You can't sort by file name, and hopefully that will change. But image capture is the way to go to do that.
I think I'm returning this watch. It's making me crazy. The phone, my wife's trying to call me, it's telling me on my iPad she's calling, it's telling me on my computer she's calling, it's ringing on the,
She said,
and I ain't gonna answer it.
yeah.
Now, if she calls one more time, it's probably a crisis.
Yeah.
She said, are you okay for it? That's what she
Yeah.
I worked for a guy once,
George?
yeah. Mitch?
I think I'm just missing this whole thing. That's probably because I don't use this application that much, but why wouldn't I just import everything into Photo, which is what I do, and if I want to copy out, export them all out in the desktop in a folder? And how is that different than using this other method?
Personal choice, I'll say.
Personal, yeah.
Is there
Personal
more?
choice.
Well, not only that, but the way I describe, are you talking about the way Bob and I work, or?
Well, I
the way
don't-
we're just talking?
I don't put them in a file and save raw stuff and do all that.
Because we do a
stuff.
lot of editing.
Yeah,
That's the
all I
difference.
use them in is Photo. And before this, all I used them in was iPhoto, although I had Aperture that I would rarely use to do some more sophisticated editing, which always was a disaster. But I'm just wondering, why do I want to import them into Preview and save them in a file?
Not Preview,
and then
Image
put them
Capture.
in there, when I've got them in there, and I can just, if I really want them out, I can just export them out to the desktop.
Well, I can answer it for me. I store my files in RAW. I can go back and I can make big images if I should ever want to make a print, re-edit it, all the material is there. Photos won't store that, or if it does, it'll take up 3 or 4 times as much room as a JPEG will. So I do all my editing, and then I select which pictures I want in Photos, and the reason I do is because I'm gearing up to make slideshows that I can show of trips and things on my TV set using Apple TV. So that's why I do it.
And there's one other reason. Often you don't know what Apple does with your file, with your photo file. Sometimes they reduce it, sometimes they do something to it, and I just don't want that. That's my other reason.
But Mitch is right. For most of us, importing into Photos or iPhoto with your iPhone pictures and your iPad pictures or your 35 millimeter pictures is perfectly fine. There's no reason to be anything more complicated
I just don't understand it because,
Well, no, it depends, it's almost to what
I
degree
think-
you're anal.
well, the only thing I store in raw, yeah, and the only thing I store in raw is myself, and I store right in these clothes. I'm just not into that at
Yeah, if
all.
you don't do a lot of editing,
No.
then that's, if
Yeah.
you're someone who just takes pictures on an iPhone or
I
an
take
iPad or
I
just a
take
regular camera.
99% of my pictures now on an iPhone.
Yeah.
I've got
And that's
Then
fine.
that's
sophisticated
fine.
point and shoot cameras that I don't even touch anymore because the iPhone, as far as I'm concerned, is better, and it's gonna get better and better
Yeah.
and better.
Then that's what you should do. But for those of us who do editing,
It's
That's why we
sophisticated
say
stuff, and
different
Well,
strokes
simple
for
and
different folks.
sophisticated.
I just wanted to know why, because I thought, well, maybe I should change the way I'm doing it.
You shouldn't change.
and if
Well,
you
that's
shoot,
what I
if you
think.
shoot with the camera and you shoot in RAW, you really have to process them
Yeah.
before. So, but if you're shooting, you're shooting in a JPEG, then no.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okey dokey,
George,
okay,
you have somebody back here?
yes.
I just wanted to know if people tend to use their pictures folder, to the left, in the left column of Finder, documents, pictures.
Some people do, yes.
Is there any reason to use it, or should we just everything in photo and organize it there?
It's up to you as an individual.
But that's where your photos files are stored in that pictures.
You mean,
The library.
That's where the library for your for photos, for the app photos, is in pictures, so don't delete it.
okay, so if you go to the pictures folder, it should say library,
Yeah, it'll say
Yes.
photos.library.
photos.library, something.
Donna, the difference is that in one case, if you put it into iPhoto, it goes into pictures in a box that you can't get into.
Okay.
Or you can put it in a box, in a folder that you can get into. That's what we were discussing, the difference.
Okay, now, how many thousands of pictures can the photo application hold?
How many pictures can it hold? Whatever size your hard drive is,
Yeah.
Okay.
based on the size of your hard drive.
Okay.
And I wouldn't, unless you take, like billions of pictures, it's not an issue. Unless you have a little tiny SD drive. I mean, if you have 128 gigabyte drive, that could be an issue. But, I mean, do you take a zillion pictures?
I seem to, there's thousands. I don't know how they got there, but.
Anyway,
Duplicates.
any more questions on the subject? Let's go back and talk about Vicky's frustration. Vicky, and this over here is a question, basically. Vicky, you want to sort of go over the frustration?
Yeah, just as I mentioned in iPhotos, I sort, because I use the process I use, I rename all my photos. And it's usually a location and then the file name that comes with the camera. And in iPhoto, I was able to sort my photos by file name. In Photos, at this point, it does not allow you to sort by quote name, and they actually now, it used to be in iPhotos that file name was the same as name, and now iPhotos actually has a name and a file name. And Photos allows you to show, for example, the name of a photo, but it doesn't allow you to show the file name because it now distinguishes between name and file name. So the first frustration I found was being unable to sort by file name, and then I realized that name and file name were two different things now.
Could you file them the way I used to do it, leaving the file name that comes with the photo that comes out of the camera, and then I put after it my title in English?
It doesn't matter.
So it still
It still won't sort by that.
won't do it.
In other words, if you go to one of the pictures in the photo app, and you go to Get Info, this is what that info looks like. Can you see this? How do I blow that up?
Command is a two-finger drive.
Doesn't do it.
Control and scroll.
Hmm?
Control and scroll.
Can't get it to it from mine.
Or maybe it has to be set as a preference. Jerry has it on his.
Maybe I lost it when they threw it out.
When they clean your dock, they.
Yeah.
So where would I go into system preferences?
Yeah. Accessibility, Zoom.
Right here?
Yeah,
Hmm?
yeah, try that.
Command?
Well, you pick whatever you want, just remember.
Thank you.
George, if you could just back up before you even show the get info, and that you're gonna have to outzoom, and go up to view. So you used to be able to sort. Can you see the sort? Or was it images? I can't remember.
What was that? What are you saying?
The sort, isn't that under?
But I think it shows you as one selected.
Yeah, unselect that one. Okay, now go up to, I think, view.
Is it grayed out?
It's probably,
Maybe it's under photos.
no, keep sorted by date. See, that's grayed out.
Right, right.
But that's the only option. It used to give you, in iPhotos, it gives you an option that says sort, and then when you expand it, there are there are 3 or 4 different characteristics that you
Including
can sort
name.
by,
Yeah.
including date or title, or I don't know what the others are. And that is no longer there. So
Right,
that's the
right.
first
So
problem.
we don't have that option. Vicki, the only solution currently that you can do is make a smart album.
Yeah.
And, but it won't show up under each picture won't have a title. But that smart album will allow you to group those pictures immediately together.
Right. How will it go in, I wonder how it'll go in this smart album though, probably by date.
What's that?
It'll probably go into the smart album by date.
When you set up the smart album, you've got a choice of what rules
Oh,
you
okay.
use, okay?
Yeah, okay, because, right, no, I understand that, but how will it sort them within the
Oh, I
smart
doubt
album?
it'll
Because
sort
I'm
it.
talking about maybe importing like 1,000 photos.
I
and-
doubt that they'll sort it, they'll just be in there.
Right,
Well, here I made a smart album for this Tapper's performance I did. And they're in here by the time that I took them.
yeah.
What's the difference between a smart album and an album?
What's the difference between what?
A smart album and an album.
Well, it went through my entire library and just searched anything that had the word Tappers.
I didn't understand this. I didn't get what you said.
I opened up, I went to File, New Smart Album, and I typed in Tappers into that box. And then what did I do
Because you had already named all those photos.
here? Right.
Oh, I see.
But you said you sorted by time. Is there a search by, you could say, you know when you were there, would it search by all photos taken during those 2 hours or whatever of
Sure.
that day?
Mhm,
Sure.
mhm.
Yes.
another organizational question. I went on a trip, and I took a lot of pictures in different places. And I took a place, and I selected out a certain number of pictures, because I took a lot of them, trying to make a slideshow. And I made a folder for that city, and then we went on another city, I made another folder. Then we went on another city, I made another folder, and selected out the pictures I wanted for a slideshow. Now I'd like to put that whole trip together as a project. And I'd like to take the slides, the files, the folders for those different cities and put them all together in one project. I don't know any way to do that. I've tried doing it. Of course, I could take all the pictures separately and put them in the project, but then they wouldn't be sorted by cities, so they'd all be together.
iMovie. iMovie.
You have to use iMovie?
Yeah, just import each of those folders into iMovie.
I see.
And you already want
But then you're creating an iMovie.
Or, have you used iMovie?
No.
Where are you making your slideshows?
What do you mean? In photos.
Okay.
Which is
If
pretty
he's
good.
making a slideshow in chronological order of his trip, he should be okay.
Mhm.
He'll be okay. You can just use the photo app to do that. Because you're,
I can't move them into the project. I don't know how to make it one project.
wait a minute, you can,
I've got these folders, each for a different city, and I want to put them together into one slideshow, but keep each city separate. I know I can take all the pictures together,
well,
just
you
throw
can
'em
bring,
in, but I don't want
can you
to
set up an album and bring them into the photo app?
project.
Yeah, and if they're by time, then it should be by city, because, you know, you're in one city one day and another
Yeah.
city the next day and the third day. So if,
Just bring all the pictures in and let it be like that.
in one album, and then you can use text in photos to, you know, to,
I haven't
Say
been
the name
able
of
to,
it.
that's another question. I haven't been able to use, to label my pictures.
You haven't been able to what?
Label the pictures, put a text on them
you can do it in slideshow. You can do it.
in a slideshow.
Mhm.
Okay. For each picture?
Yes.
Okay.
Is that for iMovie?
That's different, you're talking about the title. I'm talking about if you want to put a text in a slideshow, you know, like if you're in a new town, say town number 2,
Oh,
and put that as a title
okay.
on your slideshow.
When you say title, you want to title the picture for the slideshow,
Well,
on the picture.
that happens automatically. It goes on, the first picture has a title on it. It's pretty neat. But
Well, you can adjust that.
supposing I've got a picture of a building in there and I want to label what that building is.
You can do
and Put it
that.
right on the slide, maybe.
You can
in the
do that.
corner.
Mhm.
Is there any way I can do that?
Yes.
I
And
haven't found it.
don't you do that as you're creating the slideshow project?
What was that?
You do that as you're creating the slideshow project in slideshow.
Let's, let me try to answer that question, I guess. Let me highlight some of these pictures. Okay. Then I believe I go up here. No, here, I guess. And I do slideshow. Tappers, slideshow. Okay. All right, so now we've got this small slideshow.
Yeah, so supposing you want to put the names of those two people in the corner of that picture. Can you do that?
And you want to take this photo, or any photo, and put some title on
A
it, right?
label.
Right?
Yes.
done this, Marty?
What's that plus down? Is that, no, that's the info.
Add text. There you go, right here. Okay?
But you get these, you get the option on fonts and size, they're charging the location
But
or not.
the thing is, you have to remember what George did, because I heard somebody say, just press that little arrow. If you just press that little arrow, you get a slideshow. That's not what George did. He went into creating a slideshow. And there's a difference. You can just get a down and dirty, quick slideshow by pressing that arrow. But to actually create and do that stuff, you have to follow what George did.
Go back and do that again, George.
Except for the instructor, can you repeat?
So what was the, go back and do it again?
So you pick the slides,
So let me go to Parker, pick some slides. Go to the,
That one.
this one,
slideshow.
slideshow. Parker, new slideshow, okay. There's the slideshow.
And then the little thing in the right-hand corner.
Pick,
And then the plus.
then the plus, then add text. I wonder what add photos is.
Right, below it.
Hmm? Oh, just pick another photo, I guess.
So you can add the text, but it has to be, once you add the text, does it have to be right there in the middle, or can you move it around the screen?
Let's see.
I think. I
You're
photo.
not gonna do any of this, what are you even asking?
I'm just testing your knowledge.
I photo. If you want to get into doing that kind of stuff, you need to use iMovie. I think. Use iMovie.
It doesn't appear,
Oh,
it doesn't appear you can move it, but I'm not sure of that. I have a feeling it probably can be done, but it's probably somewhere, you know, you gotta work with it.
Would it be right to it?
Just new.
Anybody else?
Maybe, you know, maybe, I don't know. I'd have to play with it. I know that in, I just did some slideshows in Aperture, and I know I can move it, I can move the text anywhere on the picture I want. I'm not sure here.
So the preferred method, what you're saying, is to go into iPhoto or iMovie and import your photos in there?
you don't import them into iMovie. When you're in iMovie creating a slide, if you want to get very creative and have different transitions and all kinds of things, iMovie allows you to be a little bit more creative, and it gives more things to do. And if you don't import into iMovie, when you go into iMovie and create a project, it allows you to access your photos.
Yeah, you select.
Another solution is to do it in Keynote,
Yes,
because in Keynote you can do the text, you can do anything, put above, below.
Right.
And,
But-
and all over.
You're gonna
And
do
play
it right
it
here.
as a slideshow.
You're
I'm
not
gonna
gonna
come in
use-
and ask these same questions next month.
Mitch, Notebook Productions has a really good training on that, though, on the iMovie. You can play it over and over because, you know, you get the membership.
Yep.
And you can kind of keep it on your dock and then just bring it back in whenever you're having an issue that you forgot.
Where was that available?
Notebook Productions.
Boom?
Boom.
And they've offered memberships for a year instead.
Are you on the discussion group? Are you in the discussion group?
The email.
No,
No?
By choice or by not knowing it?
because I kept forgetting to bring my check, but I have now sent it, so
Oh.
now by next week I will be. All right.
Okay, because you want to make sure you join the discussion group, which you'll get you'll get some information on as part of the process. And all that information you'll have pouring into you.
Thank you.
Then you have to make sure you read the emails. And then you have to make sure you get rid of your husband and your family. Send your husband home to another house.
Tell your friends you'll see them in a year.
I
Yes.
don't know exactly what functions are available in iMovie, but if you want really flexible on what goes into any one of the images and then into a slideshow, I recommend Keynote.
I think we should just go to Walgreens and print a couple.
Go back to the old album.
He happens to be 100% correct. The flexibility in Keynote is unbelievable.
Actually, a question about the Keynote. Don't you find it's an awfully big storage hog, though? The Keynote, if you move photos in the Keynote?
Big storage space?
No, it takes a lot of memory.
I have it, so I don't know. I have huge amounts. I have external memories and external storage and maximum memory. So I just didn't pay attention to be able to answer that.
Bob, maybe you can take us through, you can take us through a presentation
Keynote?
of Keynote
I can
and
do
making
that.
a slideshow.
I can do that sometime.
Make sure you're at that meeting, Mitch, because you'll do the next one.
That would be good.
No, because I mean, you can just about do anything and everything you want to do in Keynote, and it's really pretty simple. But it's and then then you need to store it and export it and so forth and so on. But if you want it quick and easy and like I just this morning we did a slideshow for the preschool graduation. And it was putting like 300 pictures of the kids during the preschool year together. And I used just one transition so that if you use a random transitions, it can get too difficult to watch. So I just used the dissolve transition, and each slide I showed, I think, for a second and a half, and it was perfect for nothing fancy. And I didn't title every single picture and so forth, because each parent was in the room and knew which child was there in most cases. So, but for a simple, quick, easy to put together slideshow, this app is fine for it. But if you want, fabulous transitions and things coming in from the left and from the right, then Keynote is perfect for that. And putting titles anywhere, wherever you want them, and having the title bounce back and forth. You can do all that with Keynote.
Announce when that's going to be the subject of the meeting, and I want to be sure to be there for that one.
Well, we'll be closed in July and August. So
And if Bob is speaking, we usually have 300 to 400 people waiting at the door. So you might want to stand outside the night before.
I'll do that.
Like at Best Buy at Thanksgiving. And we'll try to serve you coffee.
Maybe we can get numbers up before.
sometime in September, October.
Get
whatever.
a tent.
Okay. Yeah, pick the time that's convenient for you, let me know. Okay, there was another question. Did we sort of go through that enough? Okay.
There's nothing.
Don Kirkpatrick, who's not here, but I'm sure a lot of you will have this question if you haven't come about it yet. When we receive a picture, an email, as an attachment, and I brought one in here, my email. My daughter sent me a picture of kids at Annie. And if you go up here, say, if you go up and click on the paper clip, you used to have, and you still do, have an option to export it to iPhoto, export to aperture, and a quick look. But you have no option, as of yet, to bring it into the new photo app. So that is frustrating a lot of people. But you really do have an option, and I'll show you what that is. Go down to the picture, and just drag it, and drop it right on top of the photo app. Well, I had done it already this morning when I was playing with it. And that's it.
Would you have to do that if there were, say, 6 pictures there, would you have to drop each one, or could you just say, or you can't say?
You probably would have to drop each one.
Yeah.
Yes.
Unless it's changed, you can select, hold down the shift key, I guess, one of the keys, and select all of them and drag, and you can drag all of them in at once.
You can select all of them?
Yeah.
Okay. So then you can select them all and drag them. So that's pretty simple, and not a big deal. He thought originally that he would just have to drag it to the desktop and then, then import it and so forth. But all you have to do is drag them down right on top of the app.
If you select the image,
What's that?
if you select the image in the email, do you have a right-click capability there? Because sometimes that's possible.
Say that again?
No, not up there, the actual image itself. Can you right-click there, get anything?
Oh, export to photo.
Export to photo.
Oh, sure.
Well done, Jerry.
Sure. Very good. Export the photos, except it doesn't work.
You already have it selected.
What's that?
Yeah, now try it, because you already had it selected. The same thing.
I'll see if it's there.
See, it's there.
Well, I had
But
it.
how would you know?
I'm gonna get rid of it. I'll try it again. Right click or control click. Let's see what we got there. It's not working.
Not working yet.
Needed more time for
I still haven't gotten rid of my developer. So weird things happen. I don't ever want to be a developer again. Have you noticed that yourself, Mitch?
What's that? Being a developer?
In order to get this photo program, before it was released, I had to become a developer.
Yeah.
And now, I keep getting all the Yosemite beta updates. And I have crazy issues.
The only thing I've been a developer on is the iOS stuff, and so with that, it hasn't been an issue. The final one comes out and it goes, and it just goes away. But what I was gonna point out that if you do that on an iPad, the way I do it is I just hold my finger on the photo, and a menu comes up, I believe, and it says, copy this picture, and it goes right into your camera roll.
Right.
And then I plug my thing into my computer, where I make thousands of copies of every photo.
All right, I wanted to, there was, we talk about this No Bloom Productions, and it's a, we have a great relationship with this fellow that's developed this business of making tutorials. And now you're able to get a membership. And if you, I sent out notices every time he comes out with the promotion, which is about every 45 days. You can get a membership for like half off, which I don't know, $3 or $4 a month, I think. And you can take advantage of hundreds and hundreds of.
I think he's got 1,000 tutorials now.
Right, well, individual movies. If you, and
that half off though is only one time only, he's now making that clear, I think on the last.
yeah, but he runs it
But it's
constantly.
great.
Every time there's a holiday or a 4th of July, it shows up. It's like, you know, anything else in advertising. Okay, so why am I not on the internet all of a sudden? Oh. Turn Wi-Fi on. But he does a great job. Why am I not doing that?
George? This is not exactly photos, but since everybody is a photographer here.
Is?
Well, I guess everybody is interested in photography to some extent here in the state. There is an exhibit opening, Camera USA, at the Van Libbig on June 15th, reception June 12th.
Where is it?
Van Libbig Art Center.
Everybody hear that? Can you repeat that one more
I
time?
have a photo in there.
Photo exhibit,
Camera USA, it's was a nationwide competition.
okay.
I'm sorry? One Libbig.
Can I ask a tiny question?
Yes, tiny.
I think it's tiny. I was having trouble with a picture, and I was told that the JPEG extension, GPEG extension, instead of JPG, was causing the issue. Is there really a difference? And then if I have pictures that have the wrong extension, can I just go in and delete and change it, or do I have to put it through some process to change it? The two, there's a distinction with J.
So you had some of the JPG and some of the JPEG.
Yes,
Well, JPEG is the incorrect one.
yes, okay.
And Bob, can she just change the extension?
Yeah, I think you can.
Just type in the
Yeah,
change.
I had a problem at one point between JPEG in capital and JPEG in low key. And that's PC problem. It's not a Mac problem, but that's a PC problem in some cases.
Yeah,
Can't they, if that doesn't work, you can open it in preview and then you can save it as.
Kathy, I've had that problem too, and you can just change it to JPEG. Just change the title to JPG.
Now, that could lead us again to Bill's problem. I wonder if he could do that with those 123 pictures.
Well, how would you get the list? How would you get the label? You'd have to go to the information for the slide if it'll open up. Get information. Because when you get to the picture, it's just a grayed out saying JPEG.
I'm not sure you can do that. In this case, it looked like he's got an error message or something coming right on the picture on his iPhone, right?
No, on the iPhoto program.
On the iPhoto. So I don't know. You'd have to play with it. Have you tried to relabel JPEG?
Well, it's labeled JPEG.
Okay, no, I don't think you can do it. I think that those are just,
Yeah.
I think those you just have to forget about. All right, here's where, let's go through a couple of these if we have time. No, that's not the one I want. That's not the one I want to do.
In our first group of videos, we're going to look at how we import photos, including videos, into the Photos app. We're going to start out by taking a look at how you import or convert your photos from iPhoto or Aperture. We're also going to look at the differences between the Photos app and iPhoto. From there, we're going to see how we import from our cameras and SD cards. Then we're going to take a look at iCloud Photo Library. With iCloud Photo Library, we can sync our photos between all of our different devices.
Actually,
I take a photo with my iPhone, it shows up automatically on my Mac. I edit a photo on my Mac, it shows up. Now before we go and take a look at the actual Photos app, let's first talk about what happens if you've been using iPhoto or Aperture. How do you import your photos into the new Photos app? Let's go to my Mac. First thing we're going to talk about is how we import or convert our iPhoto library or even Aperture library into the new Photos app. To do that, all we have to do is just open up Photos. So I have Photos in my dock. Let's go ahead and select it. So now Photos is open. Next thing I have to do is I have to click on Get Started. And now what's going to happen is Photos is going to convert my iPhoto or Aperture library into a Photos library. So now what happens when it converts this library? Well, it actually creates a new library. Then what it does is it imports your photos from your older libraries, such as your iPhoto library. Now the nice thing about the way that this works is you can still open up your iPhoto or Aperture library. If I go to my Finder, let's go ahead and go to my Finder here, and then go over to Pictures. This is where my iPhoto library is. You're going to see that I now have two libraries, an iPhoto library and a Photos library. So if I wanted to open up iPhoto, I can still open up iPhoto. Now if you continue to use iPhoto or Aperture, any edits that you make are not going to show up in the Photos library because they're two separate libraries here. So if you want the edits to be carried in the Photos app, you have to do all of the edits in the Photos app. You do not want to do them in iPhoto or Aperture. Now the next question you may have is, can you delete the old iPhoto or Aperture library? I have my iPhoto library here. Can I delete it? Yes, you can. What Photos did is it moved all of the photos from the iPhoto library into the Photos library. So you're not taking up twice as much space on your computer here. What I would recommend is keeping the iPhoto or Aperture library just as a backup until you're comfortable with the new Photos app. Now let's go back over to Photos. I'm going to open up my photos here, and we can see we have all of my photos. So these were all in my iPhoto library. So what happened to all of my events, or if I'm using Aperture, my projects and stacks? Well, Photos converts events, projects, and stacks into albums. So I used iPhoto, so I had events. If we go up to albums here, you're going to see that I have a folder containing iPhoto events. So any projects, stacks, or events are going to be converted into albums in the new Photos app. Now what about the photos that you rated and flagged in iPhoto? With the new Photos app, you can't rate photos and you can't flag them. All you can do is favorite them. Well, any photos that were rated or flagged now have a keyword attached to them. And you're going to see if we go up to Window here, we have Keyword Manager. And when I select this, we have our keywords here. And in my case, I have a keyword for flagged. If I rated any photos, I would have keywords for 5-star, 4-star, and so forth. So what about places? Well, places can still be found if we go back to our collection. So I'm going to close the window here for our keywords. And now I'm going to go back to photos. And when we're looking at our photos, we can view them as moments, collections, and years. So I'm looking at my collection here. And you're going to see I have a number of photos from the North Atlantic Ocean. So when I click on this, we have a map and it shows me where they were taken. Let's go ahead and go back. Let's take a look at Holland Lake Town. Click on it. And we can see where the photos were taken. So photos still has places. We just have to look at them while we're looking at our collections. Now the photo does have to have location data for this to work. Any photo taken with an iPhone has location data. Now what you used to be able to do on iPhoto and Aperture was add a location to a photo that did not have location data. As of version 1 of the Photos app, you cannot do that. So if you take photos with a camera that doesn't record the location data, you're not going to be able to place them on a map with Photos 1.0. So the question is, do you want to use the new Photos app? Well, if you're coming from iPhoto, I say that Photos is a definite step up. The only feature that it's really missing is adding location data to photos that do not have location data. Other than that, you're really not going to miss much in the new Photos app from iPhoto. Now, if you come from Aperture, it could be a much bigger adjustment to go to the new Photos app. There are many features in Aperture that are just not present in the new Photos app. But it all depends on how you use Aperture. I mainly used Aperture to help me organize my photos. And with the new Photos app, I find it actually easier to keep my photos organized. So making the jump from Aperture to Photos, for me, it wasn't that big of a step. But if you used a lot of the features that Aperture had to offer, you may want to hold off on using the Photos app. So that's how we import or convert our iPhoto library or Aperture library in the new Photos app.
George?
Yes.
I just thought of something. And for those of us who maybe maintain or have had multiple iPhoto libraries and have them on backup external hard drives, it probably would be a good idea for us to pull out those external drives and update those libraries to photos, do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think at some point, I mean, there's not going to be support for iPhoto anymore, and at some point, we may not be able to get into those libraries if they haven't been updated with photos.
Yeah, I would.
Yeah, I just thought of that.
I really need to do that myself.
Yeah.
Because if they pull the plug on Aperture and iPhoto, because I have many Aperture libraries, and if I don't get those converted and they pull, at this point I'm going to keep both.
Right.
Right. But
How would you do that?
hmm?
How would you do, if you had more than one, how do you update the other one?
Oh, let me show
John,
you.
what I did is I selected the library, and then I did a open with, and I selected photos, and that converts it. So
Oh, okay.
So you can go through your external library.
Yeah, just option click when you, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right, the option click.
Thank you.
But you can have as many
Libraries.
Right.
photo app in libraries as you like, but only one is your system's library.
Which is the one you would send to the cloud.
So, a question,
Go ahead.
Mitch. So if you have an iPhotos library that you've gone in and you put the location data and you put the proper date of the photo and you've done all that stuff, if you then convert those photos over, is it going to pull that data?
I think so.
So it's just not going to allow you to edit that stuff once it's over? He said you couldn't do it.
No,
Location.
you're talking about two different things. In other words, all the information that is with the photo and iPhoto.
Yeah,
When you convert to the photo app,
it'll bring it.
it'll be in the info.
Right.
It'll be in the info. There won't, the title and so forth will not show up.
But he also said that you can't go in and put a look. If I got a photo that's from 1955, okay? If I haven't updated and put this is from 1955 in Timbuktu, then if I've got that in, it's going to pull that over. But if I put that photo just in there, I gathered from his video that I'm not going to be able to go in and change the date. I'm not going to go in and be able to change the location either.
I didn't hear
Correct.
change. I only heard, if I remember right, I only heard that if it's not on it, you can't add it.
That's what I'm saying, you can't add it.
You cannot add it.
So you better make sure that if
You
you're
do
bringing
it
it in,
before.
yeah, you do it before and then import it in.
That's the location, you can change the date.
You can change the date,
Yes.
it's just the location.
And when they're gonna discontinue support for something, they usually give notice. That's gonna happen. Is that correct?
See, all this information was in the old, iPhoto. And it just came, all the information came with it.
Okay.
What was the issue we were just talking about?
Which one?
Yeah.
Mine was importing the stuff from the phone and continuing to get duplicates.
Anyway, let me just see if there's another one of these that we should definitely watch for a second. Let's watch this viewing photo information.
Now let's take a look at how we view the information of a photo, including what type of camera the photo was taken with, the shutter speed, and even the f-stop. It's also where we can go and add a description or a title. Let's go to my Mac. So I'm looking at my photos in a thumbnail view. You can see that this photo here has a heart in the upper left-hand corner, as well as a toolbox in the lower right-hand corner. This is telling me that this photo was favorited, this is what the heart means, and it's been edited. This is what the toolbox means. We can view certain types of information when we're looking at our photos in the thumbnail view. To change what information is shown, we go up to the menu bar and we go to View. And from here we select Metadata. And over to the right, we have different types of metadata that we can show. You can see I have a check mark by Edited and Favorite. This is why I can see those two types of information. If I want to show the titles, I select Titles, and now we can see we have a title there, because I've added a title to this photo. I want to see all the photos that have location information. We go back up to View again in the menu bar, and then we select Location. Select it, and now every photo that has a location has an icon in the lower left-hand corner. So if we go to the photo next to this, you can see that it does not have location information. So that's how we can view information when we're looking at a thumbnail. Let's double click on this photo. Now if we go to the lower left-hand corner of this photo, you can see we have our location information icon. If we go to the lower right-hand corner, you can see that we have our toolbox. But if we go in the upper left-hand corner, remember this is where we had our heart for favorite, it is not there. That's because it is in the toolbar now. So when we're looking at a photo, we can still see our metadata. Now to view more information, what we do is we click on the eye in the upper right-hand corner of our toolbar. This is going to open up a new window where we can view all types of photo information, including what type of camera the photo was taken with. Let's select it, and we can see we have a new window that opened up. You can see what type of camera it was taken with, a Panasonic DMC GH2, I can also see that it was taken with a 14mm lens, as well as it had an f-stop of 8. This was all recorded from the camera when I took the photo. Up towards the top, we have our title, Maho Beach. So I click on it and I can go and change the title. Over to the right, we have the heart, so I can unfavorite this by clicking on the heart. Below that, we can also go and add a description as well as keywords. And then we also have the location information. Now with version 1.0 of Photos, we can't add location information to a photo. Remember how I had this photo here? It didn't have location information. Let's go ahead and select it. You're going to see when I view the information here, there is no location information. And I can't go and add it while I'm using Photos 1.0. So if you want to include photo information, you can take the photo with your iPhone or your iPad, or what you have to use is a third-party app to add location information. Now once you're done viewing your information, all we have to do is just click on the red X and it closes the window. Or what I could do is I could just click on the eye and the window disappears. So that's how we view information in photos. We can view them in thumbnails, and we have certain types of metadata that we can show. Or when we select a photo, we click on the eye and we have a new window that opens up, and we can see all of the photo information in that window. So that's how we view photo information in photos.
Okay, I think we're about out of time for today. Thank you.